Wes, did you know that Jesus is king?
I did. I did, actually. I've heard that a lot lately.
You've probably heard it close to 200 million times. Well, 200 million people have heard it. That's Kanye West's new album.
Wow.
Kanye West. Who would have thought that we on Kingdom Business TV would be talking about Kanye West? So I remember when a friend of mine actually, she's a musician, she heard about all these Sunday services and everything that Kanye was doing. She showed me some stuff and I was kind of excited. And then I remember I came into you and went, hey, what do you think? And what was your first response to this Kanye situation?
I had a little glimmer of hope, but I don't know word for word, but my first response was, I think I'll wait and see. I remember one of the most famous posts I ever put on Facebook on my personal page, is going back 5 years, that went mini viral, was a post that said, when I grow up, I want to be ... nothing like Kanye West, right?
Yep.
Because at that point, there was nothing good about the bloke, right? And, you know, if this revelation is real for him, then I personally believe that could be a bigger miracle than Paul, who was Saul, who terrorized the church. Because
that's a big call. Because
Kanye, really was one of the weirdest human beings on the planet. Yeah. Having said that, right, so when this whole thing came about that he created this new album, I actually watched a whole bunch of interviews because I wanted to see, I reckon you can spot a real Christian and a fake one. God's the ultimate judge. But he actually spoke about some very deep theology in his interviews. And now I don't know whether he's just got some personality traits that allow him to completely over-index on a huge amount of information and regurgitate it with detail, right? Maybe. Because he has changed his mind. One minute running for politics, 1 minute it's this, now he's all into this. So, but my hope has grown because he was able to hold a very mature conversation about the reign of Nebuchadnezzar and how that works in 2019. And stuff that actually quite floats my boat.
Babylon, one of your favorite topics.
Yeah, and so it definitely seems like a heart revelation. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. In fact, his wife Kim, who's well known for being a wholesome human being, is actually also quite sympathetic to this message and is on her own journey. She's not professing a faith, but when you consider where she's come from, I think it could be good for that family. I think it could be. So, I mean, but I mean, if we want to make this a business show, he's played the master stroke. Yeah. He really has. He was able to turn his awareness of, millions and millions and millions and millions of fans to his new album. And, just that alone is a stroke of genius. In fact, here's the lesson. Here's one of the lessons in this for everybody. Once you have awareness and everyone knows who you are and you've got that type of funnel, you can turn it to whatever you want. Yeah. So he had it and was going to turn it to running for president. Then there was something else he was in a little while ago, which escapes me at the moment, but it was like this intense lifestyle that he was doing. Now he's turned to, Jesus is King as an album and sold however 200 million downloads or copies. Once you have the attention, you could be running an accounting business, get 10,000 people to know about you, change your mind tomorrow, or maybe you keep the accounting business and you go into farming and then you can tell your 10,000 people about that and then you change your mind and you go and you go and you go. This day and age, people, once you've got the awareness, you can turn it into any product or any service. And I think he has done a brilliant job of marketing himself in such a way that, I hope, let's separate the business side from his faith. I believe that the faith is real, and I believe that because I think I could spot a fake, but we'll see. But the business side, he's done a phenomenal job of turning all of his attention into a product. And I mean, I don't know what that means for him commercially, but I'm sure it's a lot. Maybe not in the music sales, but in other ways. Yeah,
there's lots of things. Like when it first came out, I was on the side of the fence of, well, as long as the name of Jesus is preached, then that's, as long as the gospel's preached, then then that's good. But then you mentioned, yeah, but if he's got this much influence, he can pull people this way, but then he could also pull a lot of people back out if the next backflip or something happens.
Yeah, like don't sit in the seat of mockers, and he, you know, if it still could come out that he's a mocker.
Yeah.
And he's just done this to fix his massive financial miscarriages in his life. You know, financially he's a disaster. He lost 35 million the year before this album. So, you know, those I'm just like, oh, I don't know. But he, you know, whenever he does an interview, the name of his his album is across the top of his jumper here. No, nobody puts their branding here. It's always like on the chest or something. He's written his here. Why? Because when in a camera shot, you can see it all. Have you noticed? Because he's got that royal blue and gold. That's all he's worn since he's been on the trail. So from a branding perspective, he's a bit of a genius.
Yeah, I mean, it's converting that attention. What attention do you have, and how else can I capture that? You know, pulling off the business pure side, and let's jump on to the kingdom business side. This is ultimately what you are preaching. This is ultimately what you're trying to encourage all of us to do, because Kanye is like, okay, he's done it poorly and he's built a large influence, but now he's gotten to a point where he's like using that influence for good. Now, yes, he made a lot of a mess along the way, but I suppose that's ultimately our aim in business as well, is build an influential business. And you wonder, well, what can you do if you're just focused on building a business? Well, it's do it the godly way the whole way through, but don't think that you need to go out and evangelize the first client in business, because it could be this, you know, years down the track that God calls you, hey, now it's all about me. I want you to turn all this influence, all this fame and all the finances you have. Well, it was backwards in money, but probably still had plenty of it, to use that for the benefit of the king.
Yeah, and I mean, he's doing a lot of social justice projects at the same time. Yep. He's got a big farm. They employ some underprivileged people. They use the profits for good. You know, they're really plugging some holes in the world outside of his music. You know, and when Sony were running, 200-meter, flags on the side of their buildings that say Jesus is King. I mean, in terms of influence, it's amazing. It'd be interesting to actually do a search. How many times was, how many people searched for Jesus as a concept, non-believers, because of his album? Yeah. And I know there are churches and organizations that when this came out started running AdWords against the keyword Jesus is King, and then driving people to a webpage to talk about Christ. So, that's just very clever.
That's really
very clever.
Good.
Yeah.